Hey guys, Alex Fedotoff here. Today, I want to show you how to double profits of your e-commerce business. If you have existing business, you want to double your profitability. I want to show you how to do this with next level data. We have Max here. Max is from Klar, and he will show us how his app shows advertisers which products to focus on, how to optimize your profit margins for each product, and a lot of different things that just like you don't see on surface in your business, but once you start digging into it, you will see amazing opportunities to grow your profits. And when you grow your profits, you can scale because now you have more margin to expand, to spend on marketing and stuff. So very excited to have you, Max, here.
Hi, Alex. Thank you for the invitation. Great to be here. So hi, I'm Max. I'm originally from Germany, as you might hear, and I've been in e-com and marketing for the last 10 to 12 years, working on some pretty large brands. The last one being CMO at like a 9-figure D2C company. And, you know, I think most German marketers always have been very numbers driven, not just on the performance and optimization side, but also on the financial side, and had some really great teachers early on. And we always implemented like a 3-tiered margin structure, which gives you a lot more transparency and on your overall P&L.
Like first time you told me that, and I've been in business also for like a few years now, and I'm like, okay, you gotta tell me more what that is, like 3-tier profit margin.
Yeah, I'll show you a little bit in our tool in a second. It's just basically breaking up your P&L and the variable cost components into like 3 different layers. The first one being the cost it takes you to, or the cost of the product that you're actually selling. The second then being the cost it takes you to fulfill the order, and the last one then being the cost you have to generate the interest. So basically your marketing cost, and that gives you a very clear hierarchy of how much you're spending where and where you have room to optimize. It really allows you to scale your company much quicker. Also recently spoke to the previous CMO of Gymshark, and he also said that when they implemented the same structure at Gymshark, that was a real game changer for them. It just gave them a lot more transparency on their margin structure, and then also understand how their overall lifetime value is developing. And if you want, I can just jump into the tool and show you a little bit.
Yeah, visual kind of demonstration. Once you showed me that, it's mind-blowing, because the profit margins, guys, that you think you have in your business, a lot of e-commerce entrepreneurs say like, oh, I have like 15% profit margins, like 25% profit margins. That is not like the real profit margins. There's basically layers to that. And once you understand that, and once you see kind of like which profit margins you really have, and which products in your business have which profit margins, then you know what to optimize for and where to allocate your resources so that you can truly make your business like more profitable. This is data from Shopify. You don't have to manually type this data or use any like spreadsheets, anything like that, right?
Well, you do have to configure your logistics costs a little bit at one time, but most of the stuff is pulled on a daily basis from Shopify. There's like a one-time setup, which usually takes like around, half an hour to 60 minutes one time. And then it kind of like generates automatically every single day.
Perfect.
Cool. Yeah, so this is kind of like a P&L report, which covers the entire variable cost structure and looks at different, cost centers and components. And we kind of start here now on a monthly basis for May with like a gross merchandise value of around 150K. So that's the original selling price of all the units that were sold. That's kind of like the maximum top line of like revenue you potentially had available before different kinds of deductions happen. From that, then you deduct discounts and vouchers, and we split those up. So discount is a sale price, crossed out price. You usually do those in a more of a retail context to get rid of stock that is slow moving, so you're trying to clear out your warehouse. And then you have the vouchers, which is like a coupon code you would apply at checkout, and those are more of a bit of a marketing initiative. So breaking these out already tells you, okay, what is actually the reason why your original top line revenue is being reduced. On that, then you add your shipping revenue. So how much your customers have to pay you because they don't reach the minimum order threshold to get free shipping. The sum of that will then give you your gross revenue, from which you then in turn have to deduct your returns as well as your taxes, which then leaves you your net revenue. which is kind of like the amount of money you're actually left with. So how much money you have, left to play with to cover all of your costs, because all of the other stuff actually is never really hitting your bank account. Well, taxes do, but kind of like they're like auto-deducted in a way. So you should always just look at net revenue because that's kind of like really only the money that is at your disposal to cover costs. And then from that, we kind of start with this three-tiered cost structure. The first deduction then is the cost of goods sold. So like I said, the material costs of the product you've actually sold, and that should be fully landed. So including also inbound shipping. So how much it costs you to get the product into your warehouse. That then leaves you with your contribution margin 1. In this case, now it's around 92K. And I have a contribution margin of 77%. So 23%.
Can you elaborate once again what the contribution margin is?
Well, the contribution margin, most people, look at if they talk about contribution margin, they basically just look at what I call contribution margin 3, which is kind of like the profit left after all variable costs are deducted, right? So net revenue minus cost of goods sold, logistics costs, transaction costs, and marketing costs. But I actually break them out into 3 different tiers to give me more transparency of where these deductions are actually happening and where my costs might be increasing or decreasing over time. So I can see now I have a 77% of my revenue is actually left after I deduct the cost of my product. From that, then I have to deduct my logistics and fulfillment costs as well as my transaction costs, which leaves me with my contribution margin 2. And the contribution margin 2 is actually also the number you should be using in order to calculate customer lifetime value. Like most people,
when you told me this like last time, I was like mind blown, because like usually it's like, because like the way you think about lifetime value, okay, like the customer buys like, let's say the product costs like $30, right? And then on average through the lifetime, let's say customer buys like 2 times.
Sure.
Like so $30 multiplied by 2, $60 like lifetime value, but it's not the case. Like it's not like real lifetime value, and that's no. Like when you told me that, I'm like, wow.
There's actually no value being generated because from that top line you always have to pay for the product, you always have to pay for logistics, and you always have to pay for payment to actually get the order to the customer. So there's no value being generated on the revenue level. You always just look at the contribution margin 2. And the question is now, because the next step is then deducting the marketing costs from that to get to your contribution margin 3 or your final contribution margin. The question is now, why would you not use the contribution margin 3 to calculate lifetime value? And the reason is, it doesn't apply to most e-com cases, and it doesn't apply to all of them, but most e-com cases, is that the majority of the marketing spend is being done on acquiring a customer for the first time. You usually, have high upfront costs to acquire your customers, but then you can monetize them over a longer period of time, and the marketing costs required to get people to come back are usually quite low. So you kind of can use the contribution margin 2 to calculate lifetime value, and then it needs to get large enough for it to cover the original customer acquisition costs, so the kind of like marketing costs you needed to acquire those customers. And once those numbers cross or break even, you kind of start generating a profit. And you can also look at this in Klar in like this cohort report here.
For a lot of business owners, a lot of like e-commerce entrepreneurs, like would you say like they're looking at the wrong numbers, like to see their like real profitability and kind of like looking how to scale?
I mean, look, they probably will have to do some sort of bookkeeping, just because that's legally required. So they probably do look at their profitability on a company level, but they don't really look at it on a sliceable level, looking at different products, looking at different pockets of customers. Are some marketing channels generating more profitable customers than others? Are some products generating more profitable customers than others? And really understanding where you actually make your money gives you a lot more leverage to really grow your profits.
Hey guys, people have been asking me how we scale to multiple 6 figures or even 7 figures per month without getting shut down on Facebook. And we have a very sophisticated solution for this that I want to share with you, but it's just like too valuable to give away for free. So if you guys want this solution, just book a call with one of my team members and we'll show you exactly what it is and how it works, and we'll see if that's a good fit for you and for your business. So just book a call with my team member. We'll share it with you so you can scale your business to multiple 6 figures or even 7 figures per month without getting shut down on Facebook, without having inconsistency, and with high profitability. So just book a call with my team and I'll see you there. How would be the most frequently used or the most useful, let's say 3 to 5 ways of using your app to make decisions in e-commerce business?
So I think the one thing we talked about just now is actually setting your customer acquisition cost targets, using your cohort report, plugging that into maybe a bit of a financial model to really understand, how your business is developing and how much cash you have available. And from that, setting a customer acquisition cost target that's kind of like as aggressive as possible while making sure you don't run out of money. So that's, I think, the first thing you want to do. The next thing is then going in and looking at your customer lifetime value based on the marketing channel where people came from, based on the product that they have bought. So usually, or not always, but sometimes you see, hey, the lifetime value of people who buy one product is like 2 to 3 times higher than the lifetime value of another product. So, that kind of would show you, hey, you probably want to start focusing more of your ad spend as well as merchandising in your store towards that product that brings you much higher value customers, because either the product is simply better, and people come back more often, or you are just generating better customers from that product.
Who would be like the ideal kind of like business for this app? Like, would this be like probably like, and you tell me, you correct me if I'm wrong. Let's say somebody only has like one product. A lot of people have like 5 products. Would your app still be like useful for those people, or like it's mostly for businesses that have a lot of SKUs?
Look, the more complex it is, your business is, the more useful it becomes. Let me just put it like that. So, so more products, selling in more countries. Maybe you have different Shopify stores for different countries. There's all like complexities that we can, configure into the tool to get to your reality, configuring different business units, different channels, it's all things that are possible. You can obviously start with a single product in a single country, but your optimization will probably mostly happen there on the acquisition side and not so much the profitability and retention side. So the more complex it becomes, I would say the higher the usefulness of the product is.
What was the main kind of like idea? What was the main purpose for you when you were developing it?
I mean, like I said, I was like CMO of a 9-figure D2C brand before, and we were growing pretty rapidly while I was there. Like, we grew the marketing team from like 15 to 45 people in 6 months. We were expanding to like 8 new markets, and I had like 2 or 3 people basically just full-time updating spreadsheets, trying to get the reporting. And that was, first of all, a pain, and everybody who I had to do it hated it. So it was kind of like a waste of time and talent. Secondly, 3 times a week you said in a meeting, you said that number can't be right. So, which obviously defeats the entire purpose of then creating these reports. Yeah. And then finally, you couldn't go as deep into your numbers and start slicing and dicing them to really, go below the surface, because Excels are only, or spreadsheets are only so powerful and only have so much computing power. So really being able to, dig deep into your data, slicing and dicing, that was what I wanted to do. And we kind of like try to work around that as much as possible, because you can obviously, if you have your own BI, you could build that stuff yourself, but even then, you probably need like 2 or 3 people. They need 6 to 12 months, and you usually don't have that time and that money to do that. So that's what led me to look into it. And I started speaking to other founders about how they handle their reporting. Everybody was saying, look, it's kind of like the same pain. We're all on spreadsheets, maybe a data studio here and there. Yeah, something like that would really help us. So we started working on it, and yeah.
Is it like for a regular user, let's say not very like technical, like do you need your bookkeeper to help you set it up or to help you understand some of those costs, or it's very user friendly?
I think it's very straightforward. So the setup probably takes like, you need to connect your data source, your Shopify store, and your GA, Facebook, Google Ads, and all that. And then you basically have to configure your cost structure, so you probably need to have some sort of info sheet from your 3PL or fulfillment provider that you're using that has the structure of how they charge you. And then you basically implement that structure into our tool. That's it. And then, we help you a little bit along the way. We discuss a little bit if there's some, data cleaning or some configuration or filtering that needs to happen. Like I said, we're quite flexible. And also usually, e-com brands, they have quite messy data. They don't really take care of naming things. So we've, spent quite a lot of time of, understanding where and how data is messy, changing product names, changing UTM tracking parameters, and finding then ways to clean that up so that you can actually also not just use your current data, but also make use of all your historic data.
In terms of the ads optimization, right? Because that's a question a lot of people have. Like, can you use some data from this app to like optimize your ads more efficiently?
Yeah, I mean, that's an area we're getting into a little bit more now. So essentially, we want to bring three worlds together here. We want to bring the financial side together with the retention side, with the acquisition side. And we invested quite heavily on the retention and financial side originally. And now we're kind of like adding the acquisition side more and more into it. Like I said, we have a few things coming out in the next few weeks going into that direction.
Cool. Awesome. And so how do people try it out? Like, do the people like go through the website and like you kind of like jump on calls and like help them to set it up, or it's like self-serve usually?
Well, it's actually pretty easy to do, but we actually do help people and do a little bit of hand holding, just because most people are not as familiar with like getting that deep into the numbers. So we do like a quick call, like 20-30 minutes, where we just set up the account. Then the data imports, which takes between a few hours and a day maybe, and then we do a second call. But we just take you through all the reports, show you how they work, explain how you can use them, how you can use them to help understand how your business works, and that's it. So usually the time investment from the brand side is like, let's call it 2, maximum of 3 hours.
And you don't need like a data analyst. Like once you have the data, like in this dashboard, it's pretty like from my understanding, I'm not very like technical. Like it's quite like easy to read and understand. Like, or do you need like a data analyst to help you like evaluate this data and like make the right decisions?
Look, I mean, so it's not like whether it's just gonna give you all the final answers once the data is connected for what you have to be doing now. But I think most of the reports are quite self-explanatory, especially once you had the introduction from us where we explain everything to you. We also have quite an extensive knowledge base where we, again, explain the reports to you. So you really can, they should be understandable to everyone, but sometimes not all the interesting insights are on the surface. So sometimes you need to spend a little bit of time just digging around a little bit to understand how certain things work.
Thank you so much for joining me today. Guys, we'll link to the app so you can try it out for yourself. I think there's a lot of like data that you probably didn't even think, kind of like, because a lot of like people are just try to keep it very simple, and it's good, when you're starting out, like, but then like when your business like at a 7 figures, multi 7 figures, like one of these like decisions on one of these like data points can dramatically impact how you make further decisions in your business, like where you allocate your ad spend, like which products you should be pushing, which countries, and also how much you can like realistically spend on that customer acquisition. I think that's one of the biggest points, like where we drastically like, drop shippers evaluating like break-even ROAS, right? Like, break-even ROAS, like, your cost of goods, like, and a lot of the times we overestimate, we can have like our break-even ROAS is like 1.7, but when like in reality, it might be like 1.85.
Yeah.
Now you're overspending on customer acquisition. And then at the end of the month, like your margins are like at 5%, 7%. So I think apps like yours allow people to make these like better decisions. And if you think about business, like in general, obviously there's a lot of like intangible things, like it's a product market fit, it's a marketing, kind of like it's creative, it's all of those things. But at the end of the day, at the core of it, like the business is numbers, right? And if you know the numbers, if you see the numbers, and if you pay attention to the numbers, then you'll be able to make right decisions that eventually move your business forward. Like the business that's doing like $100 million a year, like usually got there, but by proper analyzing their numbers and by focusing on the right things that move the needle.
Yeah.
So
I would say, I mean, at its core, the first thing in business always has to do is generate some sort of profit. If there's no profit, there's nothing really, anything you can do. Even
yeah,
if have like a bit more of a mission or something that you want to pursue. Like if you don't make a profit, like you can't really, work on that mission anyway. So really getting that profitability right, maybe not in like the very beginning, because at the beginning you probably more towards, well, initially, actually having a product that people like and selling it to them in a way that they understand it. But once you get there and you're ready to scale, and want to optimize your business in a bit more of a long-term fashion, then our tool can certainly help you quite a lot there.
Awesome, man. Yeah, thank you so much for joining me today, guys. You can try Klar, right? Klar.
Sure, Klar. Yeah.
Yeah, you pronounce it. You're from Germany. You pronounce it differently. I pronounce differently. I'm from Eastern Europe, so it's like we all pronounce differently. But the most important thing that it gets the job done. Klar,
Yeah.
or however you pronounce it, it gets the job done. And yeah, thank you so much for joining me, man. Like it's great to see this like different perspective, these insights, like contribution margin, because like to scale our businesses, we have to scale ourselves. As entrepreneurs, we have to scale our skills, we have to scale our understanding of the business, we have to scale our understanding of finances of the business, because that's pretty much like where everything stands. Like numbers like tell the story of the whole business. And so I think maybe like even if we got like one person who's watching this to actually Google what is a contribution margin and start looking into that and start like getting curious, I think we've done what we need to do here. So thank you so much for joining me, Max, and I'm looking forward to see your app, blowing up and getting getting more usage. I know you invested your soul into it, so yeah, looking forward to see it blowing up. And thank you so much for joining me, my man.
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, thank you.